Hey,
Shit.
we back. Peace. Hotel. What's bracking? What's cracking? Big and back being boom. Welcome to another episode of the Nubian Spot Podcast. Because at this point, I don't know what the fuck number the episode is.
Yeah, we
Fuck
on
a number, bro.
super numbers.
But we in this bitch. Shout out to Smiles Exclusive Art Studio. Shout out to All Over. You feel me? Shout out my co-host.
Y'all know what it is. Baba, the cool Baba Nwambe.
Yeah. And I guess with us today, man, is the Vato from Funky Town. He
Already.
was born and raised at the Stockyard. You know what I'm saying? He came out swinging hard, the homie Smooth Vega. How you doing, bro?
What's up with it, man?
Chilling, man. Chilling, just
What's up?
chilling. Just came by to visit. You know what I'm saying? Say
Appreciate
what
you
up.
being here.
Yeah, what's up? That's
Hey,
what's up.
you know, I've said this for a long time. It's even more apparent now on the podcast. This motherfucker sounds like Shaquille O'Neal.
You know, Diesel, you feel me?
He does, right?
He fits the
Diesel.
profile.
And they used to call me Superman. So it all,
Oh, man, that shit's
it all
crazy.
go together, you feel me?
Yeah.
Bounce the ball at the bottom of the screen. You dig it, you catch that shit, you feel me?
Yeah, I never thought about that shit. That shit's crazy.
Don't think about it. I
You know what I'm
was
saying? We got the baby Shaquille in this motherfucker. You know what I'm saying?
I was
Yeah.
there about a week though.
Shit, man. This week was cool, man, you know?
Was y'all invaded about the P? Y'all been pushing P? Anybody ask you about
Man,
pushing
what's the whole deal with that? I saw it
pushing
online.
P?
What the fuck is that?
Boy, some stupid shit.
And then Gunna dropped his album and he came with the whole pushing P move. Now, in reality, I would say like on some P shit, like if a nigga say on some P shit or he on some P, like that's some pimp talk.
Right.
As
Yeah.
far as my understanding, you feel me?
Right.
But my sister 14, so I know she on Gunna. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like,
Yeah, what that mean?
yeah. And she was like, well, we was already saying it like player. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And I said, damn. So what's player then? She said that. She said, well, you know, like you.
Oh, for real? They said it like
I
that?
said, oh,
So you pushing P, huh?
bad, apparently.
Okay, then that's what's up.
Way to set an example, huh?
Okay.
Right, it's fucked up.
It's a new phrase. It's a new phrase, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's smart though as an artist to have something that at least your fans can feel like it's your own vernacular.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And they attach themselves to it and create a movement with it or whatever.
Yeah, I like that though. Pushing P. You know what I'm saying?
Hey,
Yeah, you can switch it up. You can say whatever word you want to use on the cool. You know what I'm saying?
and that's the bullshit though.
Yeah.
It's just whatever. It's just pushing P is just what I'm saying. You can say that ain't P. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you know,
just amazing to see how quick these trends take off sometimes.
the tricks can say they pushing paper. Right?
The tricks.
Yeah, the tricks.
I mean, I guess. Jimmy is down bad. That definitely ain't P. A trick can't be
Yeah,
associated.
they ain't pushing P. They ain't pushing
They
P
can't
right
be
there. You know what I'm
associated
saying?
with nothing P, nigga,
Oh,
you
okay,
know what I'm
okay.
saying?
Okay.
Yeah, shout out to my OG Johnny White shoes. I'm talking about,
Johnny White shoes.
yeah,
Okay, shit. That sound like some pimp shit. You know what I'm saying? Johnny White shoes.
one of my ancestors. You feel me?
For real?
Yeah, on my mama.
Oh, okay. Well, that's word to life
Yeah,
then.
legendary P. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, yeah, he pushing P there. Yeah, let's say no more.
Johnny White shoes.
Man, so but anyway, man, we got my man on here, man, from Fort Worth. And you know me, I like to get straight into the questions. You know what I'm saying?
Get
Go
it.
straight,
Let's get it.
go straight in.
You know,
So
I don't know what we're gonna talk about. Disclaimer, but Rakim was like, "Is anything off limits?" And usually, when somebody asks you if anything's off limits, that means he's gonna ask me some off limit type of shit.
No, really.
No.
And in reality,
I just fucking with you. I don't care.
yeah. We got a personal relationship. So, like,
yeah,
you the only person that done came in here that I done asked that just in case, because you more of a
yeah, you know you
public and you try to be mysterious and shit.
I like to talk.
you a big
spicy.
dog. You a big fish in the lake here. You know what I'm saying? So
Nah, but I talk spicy behind closed doors.
Oh, for sure, yeah. So it's just
Okay.
is we being regular or is
okay,
we
we gonna
being
be
for the
regular.
camera,
You
right?
know what I'm saying? We
You know
being
what I'm
regular. You know
So
what I'm
let me
saying?
ask you this: Do you remember your first encounter with hip hop?
Yeah, I do. It depends on what you.
Your first encounter, not like the Because mine wasn't even music. Mine was seeing somebody break dance.
There's different phases of that because I remember probably late 80s, early 90s. I'm talking about like it's either 89 or 90. I remember my brother listening to the Ghetto Boys. So that was like really my first real encounter. And then as like not cool as this is gonna sound, like the Vanilla Ice and MC Hammer era. You know, like
that's where we from. You know what I'm saying?
That was like I was a kid, but I thought it was the coolest shit I had ever seen at that time because like I felt like Hammer and Vanilla, like I felt like Ice was the white version of Hammer, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Right.
But I was such an MC Hammer fan, and I remember, ironically, probably one of the last times I had ever actually went to Mexico. But on the way to Mexico, we were listening to Too Legit to Quit. But as much as I credit that as like the beginning, it really, really, really wasn't until back in the day they used to have a radio station out here called 100.3 Jams.
Yeah,
And,
I remember that.
Yeah, and there was a song called "I'm a Dope Fiend" that was playing heavy at the time. I was a big fan of that song. And then when I saw the box, remember Channel 99, the box where you used to be able to order music videos? Yeah. Brenda's Got a Baby. That was it. That's what I really...
That's what made you fall in love with
that's what really made me go like, okay, you know, and I had no idea what the message was. I just liked the beat. I liked the video. And I got a cool backstory about that video like recently, but I actually didn't know the Hughes brothers directed that video. So, but yeah, that was it for me.
Yeah,
I think once I saw Brenda's Got a Baby, I was like, yeah, like...
Yeah, so Baby is like that's before me. That's like 92, right?
Yeah, 92.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, because I missed all that. That's all shit I had to go back to.
That's wild.
I don't catch Pac until All Eyes on Me.
Yeah. It's interesting though,
96,
like see,
you know
but like,
but Brenda came out before 92.
Yeah.
No, it was like
I'm trying to remember.
I think it was.
I can't remember if it was on his first album or his second album.
No, I want to say it was 92. It was 92, but it was interesting about like his career because he was like the first artist that I was ever really invested in. So like I witnessed everything. Like I watched it in real time. I was at Six Flags in 96 whenever he got shot, and they told me over the phone, and like I remember going home and crying real tears that he got shot. Like, so I was like, you know, and I'm like maybe 11 years old at the time, but like he was like a superhero to me. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it was real interesting. But
I was 20 years old then.
Yeah, I was young.
96. Fuck.
Well, you are a grown man.
Holy fucking shit! This nigga was alive before the
lived.
microwave was out. Nigga, this
Goddamn
nigga,
right.
First cell phone,
God,
internet, all of that.
Hey, look younger than everybody in the fucking room.
No, you don't.
Man, I shave his beard off, man. I look young as fuck. But, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, okay. It's true.
I mean, we don't
You know
know.
what I'm
You
saying?
got a beard on your face right now, nigga. You tell yourself whatever you
I'm
want
trying to
say.
look old.
Yeah,
That's the difference.
I think that was my first real encounter though. Now that I think about it, that was
Your first encounter, like I didn't fall in love with hip hop when I seen them niggas break dance. I was just like,
then I would say
is they doing?
I would say it was the Ghetto Boys probably. That was the first encounter. Yeah, like and it was, and I don't really think that it even registered to me that the Ghetto Boys were who they were. It didn't register that Scarface was part of the Ghetto Boys until like 10 years after.
Yeah, were you familiar that did you know that Vanilla Ice was from Dallas at the time?
No idea.
Yeah, no idea.
Even if I would have known, I wouldn't have cared. At that point. Like, you know, I wasn't like invested into like, oh, you know what, that artist is from here. Or even with professional athletes, like athletes I followed, it wasn't like I was a homer. Like, I'm a fan of the local ball team. Like, I mean, I was, but like it wasn't like me liking them wasn't predicated off of them being from here. Like I like.
Yeah, I think that's something in Dallas Fort Worth that we do though. You know what I'm saying? Because I can recall not even not really caring, you know, what demographically where these different artists were coming from. I was just like, I just like the West Coast cats. You know what I'm saying? Love the West Coast. You know what I'm saying? Then I love the Ghetto Boys.
They heavily Dallas influence though too.
Yeah, I love the Ghetto Boys because you know the Ghetto Boys was, you know, I knew they was from Texas, but I was just like, dang, they the only Texas that I knew of that was signed to a major label because they was at Jive at the time. You know what I'm saying?
For sure.
On Jive, you know what I'm saying, when they first deal or whatnot. And so, how did this influence you? You know what I'm saying, in a sense, when you begin to become an artist yourself?
Well, see, I think that was interesting because like it was once I discovered Tupac. Mind you, my older brother's 6 years older than me. So whatever was in his CD collection was whatever I was listening to. But once I discovered Pac, then shortly thereafter it was Dre, Snoop,
Yeah.
Eazy-E. So I became really fascinated. I missed the NWA era just by a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But when we get to Dre, Snoop, and like really listening to Eazy-E, I was familiar with the diss tracks.
Mm-hmm.
Eazy-E then introduces Bone Thugs and Harmony, which later went on to become my favorite rap group of all time. And then, believe it or not, the first person that made me believe that I could rap or rhyme was Too Short, right?
Right.
You know, and you know, anybody that's familiar with Too Short, like, he was just swagger rapper. You know what I'm saying? He was just a swagger rapper.
That Bay Area style.
But
you
he
know
was,
what I'm saying?
but you know, in terms of rhyming ability, he was pretty basic, entry level, like rhyming, but he just sounded cool doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And so 95, I remember.
He had some bangers though.
He dropped Getting It. It was supposed to be his last album.
Mm-hmm.
But it obviously it never was, right?
30 years ago.
So he,
Shit crazy.
but there was a song that he dropped like around 92, 93. It was called Getting It. No, not Getting It. I'm a Player. And that was the first song that I learned how to rap front and back. Like, you know, I remember the lyrics.
Yeah, you remember
So
the lyrics.
I'm in 5th grade rapping it, and like I didn't think at that time any of my classmates had, you know, could recite a full song,
Right.
let alone a rap song. You know, and rap was still relatively like new, at least to art.
So it wasn't people like in your grade freestyling and stuff.
Nah, so that was like my first time. I was like, okay, you know, I might be onto something. Too Short was the one that made me believe that it was really possible, I guess you would say. Like, and as I got to middle school, I initially wanted to be a youth counselor.
Right.
That's what I wanted to be whenever, like, my mom kind of instilled this, you need to be a probation officer, you need to help the youth, troubled youth. And at the time I'm like, I'm at risk. I'm kind of a troubled youth at the time. Like, I was a troublemaker, but she knew that I had potential to be, she saw the leadership qualities, I guess.
Right.
And so then when I get to 7th grade, between the 7th and 8th grade, you know, No Limit emerged. And mind you, at this time, I'm discovering everything. Like, I've become a big LL Cool J fan. Like, I was trying my hardest to be LL Cool J at school, bro.
Yeah, LL Cool J was on point in them days, you know what I'm saying? So he was really trying to.
This is older LL too.
Yeah, it was older. Yeah.
This wasn't, this
ain't the young, this is older.
This is phenomenon LL Cool J, you know. What is it, In the House?
This one, Russell Simmons is running,
He going with against Canada.
Def Jam and shit.
Yeah, this is Cannabis. You know, this is Fubu LL at this point.
Right.
But, and then my brother had put me on to Nas, and obviously he had put me on to Biggie. But
so this in the 90s, early 90s.
Mid-90s, 95, 96, 97. So by the time 97, No Limit starts emerging, and by 98, like, when it came to like the southern region, I felt like No Limit they were running it.
Of course.
They were running it, and they were doing everything different. And kind of going back to the example of Too Short, where like he was the first person that like made me kind of believe I could rap because I could recite his lyrics. It was even 10 times more with No Limit. You know what I mean? Like nothing against those guys. Like, cause I was a fan, believe it or not, of Silk the Shocker. I know people like, you know, bust his balls for being someone that had a real unorthodox style of rhyming, and he doesn't rhyme.
Yeah.
But like, I would hear these guys rhyme, and I had all their CDs. I mean, you could name it, like, you know, Skullduggery, Mac. It was like Big Ed, and there was a group called Cain and Abel that rapped with No Limit.
Yeah, I remember them.
Brothers.
The twin brothers that were actually Puerto Rican. I didn't even know it at the time.
Yeah.
Facts.
And they had an album called Am I My Brother's Keeper, and there was a song on that album where one of them rhymed the word Lorenzo, like, oh, I'm riding in a Benzo, Lorenzo, and I heard it and I just recited that, and so then I don't know what, it just kind of triggered me to go into like rewriting all of the No Limit songs. Like, I think I spent the whole summer like rewriting the songs and then reforming the lyrics and rewriting the lyrics. And then I just, at the time, you used to be able to go to CD stores like Sam Goody and FYE, and you could buy the CD singles, and they used to have the instrumentals. So like, if you bought the ones with the instrumentals, you know, back Back then you could buy the little cassettes and you had to record and play at the same time. So that was my first time rhyming on a beat.
And then be able to hear yourself.
Yeah, and so I was just re-rhyming the lyrics that I had heard from them, and that kind of started teaching me like how to, like, I guess, create.
Create. Put a song together.
Yeah, that's where it started. But I would credit those guys as being the reason why, and not so much because they were phenomenal, blow you out the water, but more so because their skill level was like attainable, in my opinion. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Gotcha.
Yeah, like I was like, damn, you know what I'm saying? Like,
I could do that.
This ain't too hard to do.
Yeah. That's how I felt when I heard those guys. I mean, years later, like I look at someone like Master P, and I didn't realize until probably about a year ago, somebody brought it up to me like, hey, you move a lot like the Master P's of the world, like or like on a local level. And I'm like, damn, I didn't realize like he really did influence me to do some of the things that he did, like
the independent shit.
Yeah, like I try to do as best as I can on the level that I'm on. Obviously, I'm not a multimillionaire like he was, but you know what I'm saying? Like,
you can get there.
You know, I should be already.
Yeah, it's unattainable. You know what I'm saying? But so let me ask you a question. When was the first time you put out a CD, and what kind of impact did it have in the local market and also in the regional, national market?
So the first time I had ever went to a recording studio, I was in 8th grade. So I was mentioning to you guys, I was like always in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
And so there was a security guard at my school. Her name was Rayvon Walker. And I don't know where I would be in my life in terms of like pursuing music had it not been for her coming in my life when she did.
Mm-hmm.
Miss Walker she was a first year security guard. And I had got expelled from 7th grade. I had, at the time, the most infractions in my school. And it wasn't because I was in gangs, because all my friends were in gangs. They were in drugs.
Right.
I went to a predominantly Hispanic school.
Yeah, you from Northside, right?
Yeah, so I was from down.
Yeah, your motherfuckers crazy.
Yeah, it was crazy. And, like there was a lot
From
of.
the South Side or something?
Nah, man, I'm from the 6 and Eastwood, Stop 6, Como area, all that.
But like the whole North Side, you're familiar. Like
I went to a bad school over there. I went to Metro.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And man, one time in the essay, man, I was using the bathroom, I was pissing. And so essay just slapped me from behind. Wow. I was like, oh, these motherfucking essays is for real, nigga.
Nah, there was a real culture, like a real gang culture.
That shit was crazy. I had the thump.
But for me, I don't think it was so much like I was able to like not get involved with that.
Mm-hmm.
I think my thing was like I just didn't like authority. So like when the teacher would tell me something to do or whatever, I would just naturally talk back. So I was always getting in trouble. Mm-hmm. So Miss Walker was like, hey, she had caught wind that I was making music or that I was trying to make music or I had a passion for music. Mm-hmm. And one of my friends, her name was Stephanie Salinas, she had got my my folder that had all these lyrics in it. And she said, hey, I'm going to take this with me. It was a song that I wrote. It was like a masterpiece song that I rewrote.
Right.
And she handed it to the coach, and the coach handed it to Miss Walker. Miss Walker was like, I got a cousin that owns a studio. So she went to the principal without advising me and said, if I can keep this kid out of trouble for 6 weeks, would you allow me to take him to the recording studio? Mm. And the principal agreed. And so she comes to me and they come to me and they're like, hey, we have a proposition for you. If you can stay out of trouble for 6 weeks, would you stay out of trouble if we take it to the recording studio? And I was like, yeah, shit. Like, I mean,
right.
At this time,
why not?
Like,
right?
I had never even thought it was possible. Like, when you hear recording studio, I'm thinking I'm about to get signed. I have no idea. I'm 13 years old.
Right.
So I was like, I always tell the story. I was a church rat for 6 weeks. I was on my best behavior, and then I go back, and I didn't really know how to rap. I didn't know how to write. I didn't know how to do any of this. Like, I'm about to go to the studio. Like, this is about to become a reality. Mm-hmm. So I go back and just start telling my homies, like, hey, I'm about to go to the studio. And like, I guess I was like looking for a rap group or something. Like, I didn't know what I was doing. So you want to be in my group? You want to be in my group? And everybody's like, yeah, we're going to be in your group. We're going to be in your group. And then it ended up being just me and one other guy. And I went to the studio on October 23rd, 1998. First time I ever went to the studio. And I was actually wearing a shirt. It was a flip of the Men in Black shirt. It was a PIB shirt that said Pimp in Black. I remember exactly wearing that shit.
That boy was pushing P in 98, man.
Yeah, he was pushing P in 98. Talking about, that's the new line.
That's why I had to bring it back because I was to hear that. But But I went to the first time I went to the studio, I didn't do anything. I was petrified. I went to the studio, East Side Fort Worth Avenue, Avenue J with this engineer by the name of JJ Snow. Mm-hmm. But what that allowed me, that session allowed me to know that I may have not been ready, but I was set in my mind, like, I'm going to come back. I had his number, I had his contact. And back in the day, people used to charge a lot. I'm 13 years old. He's talking about, man, it's $350 to record a track here. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what the cost is.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, I remember.
I ain't got the type of money. So I just told myself, this is what I'm going to work towards. And so I would tell everybody from that point forward, I'm going to come back, I'm going to come back, I'm going to come back. It was like a two-year journey to get back to the studio.
Right.
I worked the job at Jack in the Box. I'm meeting engineers through the window. People were trying to tax me. Long story short, I ended up forming a group at the end of 2000, and I recorded my very, very first song on December 2nd of 2000.
Mm-hmm.
And I went and I just burned I burned 100 copies of that.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the first song I ever sold.
Right.
So to answer your question, it was 2000 into 2000, going into 2001. Mm-hmm. But it was only at high school. It was only at my school. And all I wanted to do was sell those 100 copies for $5 to be able to make my money to go
back to the studio.
Go back to the studio because every session was costing me $350.
Boy,
$350. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Niggas wouldn't be making it today, bro.
No. You had to have this. Yeah, you had to get somebody to put some money behind.
I mean, and I left out. There was a whole situation whenever I was working at Jack in the Box.
Yeah.
Where I
had to purchase the ADATs and everything.
I met an engineer that I later went on to work with in a different capacity, but I met him through the drive-thru, and I went to his house. He had a better setup than JJ, and he was trying to charge me $1,500, and he knew I was 15. So I was like, I was like, bro, you know you're wrong for that. Now that I think about it, you know I ain't got it like that.
That nigga said, go sell a brick.
Yeah,
rob somebody.
$1,500. Know what I'm saying?
But I think
no love.
But from that point forward, I did form a group temporarily, and then all of 2001, we would flip those CDs for $5 every time we recorded a song. We'd flip CDs. So by the time we got to November, we had about 4 or 5 songs recorded, and I knew by the end of the year it wasn't going to work out. I knew those guys didn't want it as much as I did. I was the youngest one in the group. I was making all the decisions. I was making all the calls. I was doing all the legwork and labor work. I was putting all the money up. It was pretty much an easy call to make. And then the next year is when I finally released my first project, which was really a collection of the songs I had already recorded. Maybe recorded 1 or 2 songs. Right. And then I just put it out, and I burned I think did 200 copies, and I started putting the word out. And then from that, that's whenever I launched my website, smoothvega.com, which I still have up to this day. In 2002. So I've had my website now for 20 years.
Damn, that's dope.
Yeah, I caught wind of you probably about 2004. Yeah. Because your ass beat me in the music awards, the Fort Worth Music Awards. Yeah, because they like added R&B and hip hop together. At first it was separated.
Well, I'll tell you a funny story about that actually, because you mentioned that story to me, and I was like, I vaguely remembered, but in 2005, I know the exact time frame. So I released my first official album, if you want to call it that, in 2004. Right. And I felt I put a lot of money and effort into it. And I felt like it was a way better body of work than the 2002. Because you got to remember, 2002, I'm 15 to 16, 17 years old. I'm doing it on my own.
Yeah, I won 2003. Yeah. I was the winner of that.
But man, I'm telling you. I
was like,
hey, but that shit was...
This dude.
No, but let me tell you what happened. The 2002 work was really, to be honest with you, it was pretty bad. And then even 2004, looking back on it, really wasn't good either. But I felt like I had put enough time with my presentation, my website, and everything that I was doing that I was like, I should at least be acknowledged. So I didn't even know they had an award show to 2005. Right. And I saw the nomination came out, and then they had one of my counterparts at the time, he got nominated. I was like, yo, how the fuck did he get nominated? Like, at the time, because I'm competitive now, but I was even more competitive as a kid. I was like, there's no way this guy's doing more than me.
I said that about you. My song, my album, Butter Water, was all overseas. You know what I'm saying? It was doing numbers. You know what I'm saying? I had a full record deal in Japan. I was like, who is this dude? Vega? Where'd he come from? Then somebody say, he's a Mexican dude. I said, I already know why he won now. He got all the essays voted for him.
No, well, let me tell you what happened.
So we just keeping it real.
No. This shit was
a buck on that shit.
No, but in 2005, when they didn't nominate me, I didn't understand it. So I emailed every single email contact on the website. And I was like,
being proactive.
I was like, hey, I'm here, basically, like, acknowledge me, like, but I wasn't rude about it. And they never replied. And then when 2006 rolled around, I had a comment on my MySpace, and I'm like, congratulations on your nomination. And then that's where it happened. And
Right.
I didn't know if I was gonna win. I didn't know how this shit worked, and I won. And that was actually one of my favorite moments that I've ever had in my life because I didn't think I was gonna win, and then I won.
Yeah.
And then the next year I won again. But the cool thing about the following year in 2007,
I met you too. I went to the awards and I shook your hand.
I remember it now.
You know what I'm saying? I shook your hand.
It
I
was
was
in the
like,
front of the-
congratulations. But I was looking at you and like, man, come on, man. You know what I'm saying?
It was in the, I remember it was in the front of the
I
building.
was sour about it. I'll be honest.
No,
with you.
no, but you know what's crazy? What was really rewarding was in 2007, if you remember, PPT emerged. And them
Yeah.
guys were fucking on fire locally. And so I thought I had no chance. And at the time, you know, if y'all don't know who PPT was, that's Picasso,
Yeah, PBT. You know,
Picnic.
Picnic,
You know Picnic,
Picnic, the producer,
Picnic.
Picasso,
and Tahiti.
and Tahiti. You
But-
met
but-
Tahiti at your show.
But you know Picnic, though,
Tahiti's
right?
sick now. Remember to do that?
Oh,
That's
the
Tahiti.
Benny show.
Yeah.
You know Picnic, though, right?
I know who that is.
Yeah, so Picnic, but these guys at the time,
Yeah, they had a major deal too. They
They-
had a nice record deal.
they had everybody behind them. Mark Cuban was with them. They had the Mavericks
the
on. They're
Mavericks
like,
and everything. Yeah.
yeah.
They was like doing the shows for the Mavericks.
Yeah, and they were like on the cover.
Halftime.
They were like on the cover of everything. I was like, there's
Yeah.
no way I'm gonna beat these guys. You know what I'm saying? I had no chance,
And you beat them.
and I beat them. And I was like, oh shit! Like, I was like, yeah,
Yeah, they had full budget.
they had a lot of love. You know what I'm saying? They had
Yeah.
a lot of love, but yeah,
I think one of their partners owned a record store or something like that. They was really pushing numbers, man. They
were
wasn't
doing-
playing.
They had a run.
Shout out to Picasso now. You know what I'm saying?
It's cool to see Picnic still
OGs
doing it.
in the
Yeah,
building.
Yeah, for sure. You know, but yeah,
Yeah.
that was kind of the backstory.
Right. It's all good though, man. You know, I just want to thank you too, man, because you kind of help us brothers of ethnicity, you know what I'm saying, kind of bust down some doors in Fort Worth, you know what I'm saying, and getting us in some areas that we normally wouldn't be able to get into, because we know Fort Worth is known for it can be a racist town.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
Still is up to a certain extent.
Yeah, to a certain extent. And you was one of the guys that kind of pioneer opening the way, showing them that, we can have some events where it wouldn't be any violence and things like that. You know what I'm saying? So I want to thank you for that, brother.
No, I appreciate it. And a funny story about that, like the Ridgely Theater, right? So
Yeah.
it used to be owned by a gentleman by the name of Richard and a woman by the name of Westy. They were married. Westy, she passed away, and we went on to work years later. But in 2002, when I as soon as I printed up my first set of copies at Sounds Great Productions, I went right to the Ridgely Theater. I'm like, I'm finna go play at the Ridgely Theater.
Right, yeah.
I had no idea how this worked. So I went to the Ridgely Theater and I brought them the CD, and I was shell shocked when they gave me their response, because they're like, well, what kind of show are you? And I was like, well, it's a hip hop show. I'm trying to put a hip hop show together.
Right.
And they hit me with like, well, we're gonna need 8 police officers, and $6,000 for the rent. I'm like I'm a kid, so I was like confused. But like I knew what they were saying. And I was like, man, they're thinking this is the 80s and we're about to do Fuck the Police live with the NWA out here, right?
Mm-hmm.
So years later I did work with them, but I realized that was the culture within Fort Worth. And now you think about us, like we're the 13th biggest city in the United States, right? By population. I think we're 12 now. And so I always looked at the area of opportunity within the city with there's so many venues that weren't getting explained, or nobody was trying to really show them what hip hop was. And because those were barriers that hadn't been broken, nobody wanted to go there. But once I realized like, oh, there's opportunity here, then we could go there. But funny enough, in 2006, when I won the award, I ran with it as far as I could. And that's when I did my first self-promoted event. But it wasn't until 2007 when I became, like, that's when I transformed into the promoter. And I realized, looking back, I was always the promoter. Because like I knew how to like go on social media and do like social media marketing, which is what it is now.
Right.
But whenever I started promoting and doing events, my life changed, bro. Like
What made you make that transition?
The truth, I always tell people, I always give people the basic, like, well, I wasn't getting booked and I wasn't being part of no shows. And that is true. But it wasn't because I wasn't getting booked, because I wasn't good, because that's what Slim Johnson tried to say. Like, Slim Johnson was trying to give the story one time, like, oh, he didn't get booked because he wasn't good. I'm like, I mean, I wasn't the best artist, but
Right.
I had won awards.
Oh, yeah, I would say you was a decent artist, though.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, maybe for the time, right? But
Yeah,
at the time,
yeah.
like, I wasn't developed, but It
I
wasn't
don't
because
feel like your raps is trash, but your rap voice is very trash. I think they got a lot to do with music. You know what I'm
okay,
saying?
okay,
These
we'll
rap
we'll get back to it, right? We'll talk about the rhyming.
Talk about that off the camera.
No, that's fun. We could talk about that here in a bit, but at the time it wasn't that I wasn't getting gigs. I wasn't getting, like all of us, the gigs that we want, right? Like I was doing the bar circuits, the club circuits, and it was cool, and I was already getting paid for a few gigs, so it wasn't like I wasn't seeing success. What really made me say I want to do a concert, I want to put my own event together, is I had went to an event in December of 2006, and it was with a friend of mine, and he had got booked, and it was like this underground world that like I never like knew that existed. It was like this underground, you got served world of like dancers and shit, and it was like about 250 people that were there, and he performed, and I said, man, if I ever do a show, I want to do an all-age event. So then a week or two later, I'm on the west side of Fort Worth on Camp Bowie, and I go to the Rich D Dinner, and they had an event called Body Rock, I remember, and there was all these kids that were coming out. It was like, essentially it was a rave, but it was a dance, and it was all young kids. Now, granted, they were like a little underdressed and overexposed, but I remember saying like, it was an all-age event. I want to do an all-age event. So then fast forward right around March of 2007, I had a friend of mine go, hey, my cousin's putting an event together. It's an all-age event. It's a dance competition. He's looking for a rapper to perform there. How much would you charge him? I was ready to say, I'll do it for free, but I was like, no, I'll do it for $250, right?
Right.
And so, mind you, I didn't know my worth. I always give the story. It's one of the best stories in the world. I was like, I'll do it for $250. And then he's like, all right, cool, he'll pay you to do it. But I had already knew how to market this because I had already seen it. And so this was his first time dabbling into it. And by the time the promotion was done, I had created the flyer, created the promotion, did the voiceover work. And this event was a $15 event. Like you paid $10 or $15 to get in. I wasn't the promoter, but the show did over 700 kids. Shit. And there was kids that were holding up like I Love Smooth Vega signs. I remember like, oh shit. Damn. And I had posted on my MySpace page, like, I just performed in front of this many people, and people had no idea because there wasn't no headliner attached to it. But it was an extension of this world like that existed that nobody knew. So I remember a local nightclub tried to start doing their own like, local teen nights because they had
almost like open mic type.
No, they were trying to do a teen night because they had saw my post, and so they had two events and it flopped. So I reached out to them. I said, hey man, let me do an event with you and for you. Let me promote it, and I'll come in. I'll bring all the whole promotion. He's like, well, how much do you charge? And me knowing that I charged $250, I was like, well, I know I'm worth more than $250 now. So I doubled. I said, well, $500. And he said, you know what? How about this? How about you pick a Sunday, because he gave me an off night. We can do it was the worst deal ever. It was like it was a 40% at the door if I did 400 people, 50% if I had 500 people, and 60% if I had anything over 500. Right. So it was like I really had to bring people to get to the number. I had never structured the deal. Every deal that I had ever done up to that point was a 50-50 deal or like just a flat out. So I was like,
flat out, yeah.
I was like, okay, cool, I'll do it. You know what I'm saying? I'll do it. Like I didn't know anything, but I had this whole idea of taking the dance competition and mixing it with the concert element. And I created this company called Total Pandemonium. And I did the event in August of 2007. And so to answer the question, I did it because there was an area of opportunity. And I saw the business opportunity that nobody may have been able to see other than the people that knew that world.
You saw your window.
And I went in, I did it, and the first event drew right under 700 people. And so he ended up having to pay me, even though they got a big cut, he ended up having to pay me $3,300.
That's what's up.
So at that point, now I know I'm not worth $500.
No, you boogieing now. You got your bread.
So
you're getting bread now. You know what I'm saying?
And for the record, I remember going home.
What's their phrase again?
What, pushing P?
Yeah, he pushing P. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, no, but I went home to my parents' house, and I remember my dad had always given me a hard time about getting a real job and, not being, like the whole thing about, like, you're not making money off of this. I went straight to my dad's house. He was laying on the couch. He was actually asleep. I pulled out the $3,300 out of my pocket,
slapped it,
and I started slapping him with the money.
I started put his dick on the table. Who's the man now? What job?
But you know what? Though? I think my dad, if ever a time that he wanted to be proven wrong. That was the time.
Right.
For sure.
And then so I knew as soon as I did it the first time, I was like, I know what I'm on to. I immediately backdoored it. I did an event that November of 2007 as well. And that event broke the attendance record at that specific club. I did 1,300 kids, and we ended up generating right around $12,000. So I made $12,000 a night. So in 2007, you could not tell me anything because we didn't have pre-sale tickets.
Right.
We didn't have online tickets. That was all walk up. That was all day of. That was all off the strength of the promotion.
How old was you?
I was 22 years old.
What's up?
So
Good age.
So
Make some pushing P.
yeah. I mean, I was like, man, I didn't realize how.
You
But
can't tell the old nigga the new shit. They didn't wear that bitch out.
Hey man, I don't know. Only old nigga I know in here
He
is
is killing that motherfucker.
Ain't no old niggas in here, man. We gonna stop this.
He didn't do it in every form of a sentence he could. Like this it right here, pushing P.
Yeah. Say, matter of fact, you need to make a button where it say pushing P. You know what I'm saying?
That nigga build in the house with the bricks and pull it up.
Hey, that's my motherfucking. Hey, that's my phrase now. That's my motherfucking phrase.
You will not
Hey man,
Yeah.
so it's 2007. You're doing your thing. You know what I'm saying? You promoting. You know what I'm saying? So now you're known as a promoter in the city. Everybody know you as a
it was
major
crazy
promoter.
because those kids were like so confused. They didn't know what I was. So like at the time, like they were having all those sweet 16s and 15s.
Right.
And they're like, hey, we want to book you for our 15. We want the crunkest DJ in town. They didn't know what I did. They just wanted me there.
Right.
And I didn't realize how much influence I had at the time.
You became very popular.
Very popular amongst a younger generation of people that were gonna carry my name over for the next 10 years.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so I planted the seeds early, and I knew. But I think the mistake I made with that whole thing was that I didn't expand it, and at the same time, I didn't realize that it wasn't gonna last forever. So by the time I get to 2008. I knew that I wanted to start investing into booking artists, and I started booking artists and like mixing it up like national acts, and then I mean the first concert I had ever officially booked was on February 8th of 2008, and I actually somehow or another I managed to get 2 shows in one night from that artist.
Oh, shit. Who was the artist?
It was Frankie J at the time, and at that time he was still like coming out of like his main run. We did 1,400 tickets on the first show, and then we did 900 tickets on the second show.
What the fuck?
And it was like a 7 o'clock show and a midnight show, and then I generated right around 30 grand that night.
I was in the article with Frankie J.
Yeah, but you got to.
I've been around,
but you got to think, bro. Though, like
without saying it,
when I'm having that type of success that early
Right.
on, I'm like, yo, this is gonna last forever.
Right.
I'm hitting 100 for 100. You know what I'm saying? Like,
it seemed too easy out the gate.
Yeah, and my promotional skills, the way I was packaging the flyers, it really isn't much different than what I do now.
Right.
But it was just, obviously the style was a bit different, but it was
it's more now it's more refined.
It was more refined, but like at the time I was like, this is
it's learning curves. You had to learn some
this
things.
is gonna last forever, and it didn't. You know what I'm saying? But,
It's young talk. It ain't no young talk, ego talk.
But I mean, but I think what prepared me also for my run later on down when I started Premiere Live was that I was also like, I got to give credit to the kids that were the dancers, because we would do these dance competitions, and though I wasn't paying them outright, I was putting a cash prize up.
Right.
So it was like $1,000 cash prize for the winning group, and second place, third place. It was really on some You Got Served, and then America's Best Dance Crew came out. I don't know if y'all remember America's Best Dance Crew with the Jabberwockies and all that shit. So when that show came out, I started booking the talent from that show to come and judge my competitions.
Damn.
So these kids, like, they're inner city kids. They're not taught. They're not, real. Like, they're not choreographers by nature. So they're learning from watching, and being able to give them kids hope and really kind of give them something to look forward to was like a big deal. You know what I'm saying? And like, so I think that served a bigger purpose, but it had a window, and it pretty much, by the time we got to 2009, that was it. I did my last Total Pandemonium in 2009, which just so happens to be right around the time my mom passed away.
Oh, okay.
Which so happens to be right around the time.
R.I.P.
Which so happens to be right around the time that my daughter was set to be born shortly thereafter. So my whole, I just changed my whole. Everything I was gonna do from that point forward was like, all right, I'm about to be 25. I haven't made it as an artist, so what am I gonna do? I'm gonna go get a regular job, and my daughter was born. She was born premature. I started trying to look for a job around April 2010. I struck out. Wasn't getting any. The only people that wanted to hire me. Funny, I got a funny story about this. It was, it was a friend of mine. She wanted to hire me at Wingstop, right? And in Diamond Hill in North Fort Worth, I'm like, she's like, you sure you want to work here? I was like, she's like, everybody's gonna know who you are.
Right. I was about to say that.
She's like, I was like, you know what? Like, nah. So I told her, I go, you know what? I'm gonna give my brother the job. And
Right.
So I gave my brother the job, and the only other job I think that wanted to hire me was Family Dollar, but it was like $7.50 an hour. It was like some real like super low pay. And I was like, man, I don't know what to do. So I said, you know what? Fuck it. I'm gonna go back to do what I know. And I started doing events, and that's when I did my first event at Ridge D Theater. And I did like 3 events. I booked like Charlie Boy and some other people, and I had like a streak of like 3 shows. And then I ended up buying this SUV. And my pops was like, how you gonna buy an SUV and you ain't got money like that? You ain't got like steady money coming in. I'm like, you ain't got a job. I was like, well, how am I gonna get to a job without a car? You know what I'm saying? Because at the time my Cadillac had broke down. And so right after that, my wife got pregnant with my son, like instantly. Like I'm talking about my daughter was like 3 months, and then right away we're having another son. I was like, all right, I gotta go get a job. And then I called my boy.
You couldn't wait, huh?
That boy was doing a lot of fucking.
You couldn't wait. You gotta get right back to that.
Nah, but let me tell you though. So my son, as soon as I found out we were having my son, that's when I went. Reached out to my boy. He got me a job in wireless, and I stayed in wireless for 5 years.
Right.
And so funny story is like whenever I was in wireless in 2013, and I was put in position to like actually manage and take over stores, they gave me the option to start hiring. And one of the first people that I hired was actually the girl that was going to hire me at Wingstop. So I brought it back to her because she needed a job, and I was like, yo, because she needed a job. I remember seeing her post. I go, you were gonna give me a chance when nobody else was gonna give me a chance, so I'm gonna give you a chance. And I brought her on. So, but anyways, like I was there for a few years, and towards the tail end of me being there, because I did a lot of shit at T-Mobile whenever I was T-Mobile, because that's where I worked at. Right. I started doing like autograph session events. Like I had fucking Terrell Owens come to the store doing autograph session events while you was working. Well, it took a while because I didn't tell them who I was. Right. Because I worked at Metro for a long time. Right. And then I went to T-Mobile.
I saw. That's what I saw. And you, Paul Wall at Metro.
Yeah. See, you remember that?
PCA. Yeah, I remember that. And I was like, okay, then Vega ain't playing. He bringing in Paul Wall. He getting some folks up in here. He doing some things.
But I would do events in spurts. I just wasn't doing concerts. Like I would do like maybe one an event here, an event there, a competition there. But it was maybe like per year, maybe 3 or 4 events max. And when I got to T-Mobile, I didn't want to tell them who I was. But
so let me not to cut you off. So would you think that you had a niche as far as like your connection with artists or larger artists, bigger artists? You know what I'm saying? Like a Paul Wall or whatnot. Were you able to, if you can give the people out there in TV land some type of niche that you may have that that can help them. You know what I'm saying? If they inspired to do the same things that you do, you know what I'm saying? What's a cool thing that they should know?
I would say that just kind of being an asset of some sorts, right? So when I booked Little Flip in 2008, one of the lessons that I learned pretty early on is like, if you spend money with somebody and you're great at what you do, you'll probably never have to spend money with them again. You know what I'm saying? And because they'll see your value. And I didn't see my value as much as I do now, but when I booked Little Flip in 2008, I did a show with him, just booked him as an artist. And then by the end of 2008, going into 2009, all the way to 2010, 2011, I was administrating all his digital distribution.
Yeah, he's a homie now.
His social media,
you handling
his
business.
website. I had everything. I was managing his bookings, and I learned a lot from that time.
Right.
And I also didn't realize like that I wasn't getting paid what I was owed. Like, because it wasn't that he was doing me wrong. I just didn't, I wasn't enforcing commissions, and you never get what you're worth. You get what you negotiate. You know what I'm saying? So I just started leveraging those relationships and seeing those things. But when I got to T-Mobile, I didn't even want to tell anybody who I was. But they put me in a store that was relatively close to North Fort Worth, even though it was on the outskirts. They put me in North Richland Hills. So it was unavoidable. Like all the customers knew who I was. Yeah. And then I had a following. And those kids that were dancers now are 5 years removed from being dancers. Now they're young adults. Now they're buying phones and they're coming in. So I had a massive fucking following. And they just everywhere I went, I was on fire. I was doing big numbers, and it got to the point where like when I started doing events there, because I did an event,
Right.
they saw 500 people outside of the store in the line. They're like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah, I remember seeing that on Facebook.
Yeah, they're like,
I think it was on Facebook, one of those social media platforms.
No, it was probably Facebook. It was like, "Yo, what the fuck is this guy?"
I was gonna come down and get in line too.
Yeah, like it was like some crazy shit that was going on.
I was like, man, it's popping in forward right now.
Nah, man, it was wild. But by the time we got to the end of that,
right,
like when I got to 2015, even 2014, I started recording again, and the reason why I never felt that I sucked, by the way, is because by the time I actually started knowing how to really record, and shout out to Milad and all those guys that really kind of put me on game, and by the time I get to working with Chico and them boys, like I had a better understanding of what I was trying to do. But like when I would enter competitions, like I was on the K104 Street Swag Sunday, like I didn't have people voting for me. I wasn't telling people, hey, vote for me. Like I was winning these competitions, and I started noticing like, yo, what the fuck? Like this is actually like, this is going. So I started like I was always recording, and then by the time we get to 2005, like my mind was just like, yo, I gotta record. But the idea of me going back to doing live events never went away. So I go, if I do events again, and if I go full time with doing events, I have to do it different than everybody else is doing it. I gotta be in a venue that nobody else is touching. It's not saturated. And at the time that was the Live Oak. So I did an event. I tried to go into that venue as early as I could, but they had never done anything remotely close to being colored or minority based.
Yeah,
it was all white as can be. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I went in there and finally I met this guy by the name of Brooks. I said, man, will you let me do an event here? Let me prove myself. I'm gonna do an event. And I purposely, at the time I was working with this girl, she was an R&B artist. I said, let me bring the show. I'm gonna bring Leon Bridges here. I'm gonna bring a few other people here. And Leon at the time was emerging,
yeah.
but he wasn't signed yet. And they're like, all right, cool. So I did that show. It did well. And I was like, okay, now that I got your trust and now that you know I'm not a dumbass, let me do a hip hop show here.
Shout out to the youngster.
And I did a free hip hop show in February of 2015. And then it went really good. And it ended up being like 250 people. Mind you, I'm still working a regular job. And I said, as soon as I did that event, I was like, that's it. I'm booking an artist.
Right.
And I already had my album release ready to go. So I'm like, I'm going to book an artist for my album release party. And I was like, well, who do I want to book? What do I want to book? And I was like, I'm going to book Joe Budden. And the reason why I wanted to book Joe Budden was because I knew that he had did, not Southside. It was the small room over that Southside ballroom. It's like a real small room. It was, I forget, the Loft.
Oh yeah, the Loft.
And he only did like 70 tickets. I was like, I know more than 70 people that I could sell tickets to for Joe Budden.
Right.
So I booked Joe Budden. I emailed him, put in the inquiry in, and I booked him for April 24th of 2015. And then right around that time, I was like, okay, I'm gonna send my album release to April 24th, 2015. And then the Dallas Observer, the Forward Star Telegram put me on the cover all on the same day. And they were like,
yeah, you running it.
Now it's like, oh shit. And then the event was a massive success.
Right.
And by the way, that booking paid dividends because I still
got that relationship.
I still got that relationship with Joe Budden to this day.
So run down the list of artists that you done booked over the years.
So after Joe Budden, I immediately booked Royce the 5'9".
Yeah, shout out to 5'9".
Who I had a relationship with as an artist because, I work with Crook. I work with a lot of guys. I completely skipped that. Right. But I booked Royce. I ended up booking DMX. This is right after. That's great. Then Camillionaire. And then this was just by 2015. So by the time we get to 2016, we launched Premier Live officially, because on contracts, I was operating as Premier Live, but on flyers, it said Smooth Vega Presents.
Yeah, I remember that.
So we get to 2016, we started with Scarface, and then from there, it was just like on and popping. I've worked with The Game, with Nipsey Hussle, Joyner Lucas, Dave East, A Boogie with the Hoodie, Westside Boogie, fucking Crazy Bone and Bone Thugs in Harmony, everybody from Texas, from Paul to Trey to obviously now Zero.
Right.
Man, there's so many people that I'm Ja Rule, Shantae. There's so many people that I've worked with. Rakim, Eric B. and Rakim. You know what I'm saying? Like that was a big one to work with. Just so many of those artists that I looked up to. Like a lot of the artists that I worked with, a lot of people don't realize like Immortal Technique and those guys, like those were guys that I genuinely were my favorite rappers.
Right.
Royce, Joe Budden, those guys were like my favorite rappers at one point. So I was booking guys that I was familiar with, that I knew that I could market because I understood them. And I never felt that a lot of promoters understood those guys.
Right, gotcha.
And so it was more at that point where I was at. But then I started realizing this is no different than the dance competitions. This is no different than anything else I've ever done.
Right.
And I used to always go like, it took me a while to really accept that I wasn't naturally as gifted as other people.
Mm-hmm.
So when I got to the point where it was like, if I could take myself as an artist as far as I did, and I was able to get all the opportunities I got, knowing that my skill set was more limited than others, imagine what I can do with somebody
that's
talented. That's already there.
Overly talented.
That's
yeah.
already there, yeah. And so there was just so many opportunities that opened up from those situations, you know.
And now you transitioning it again because you're getting into artist management, right?
Yeah. So I think that the artist management situation started really in 2009, 2010. But again, you don't really realize because really even the stuff that I was doing for Flip was a lot of that.
Right.
You know, management in general, because there's so many different facets to management. You have artist management, you have booking management, you have social media management. But management as a whole is the same thing. And I learned a lot, believe it or not, during my time in retail management, how to manage. You know,
yeah. I got you.
Because you're responsible for quotas and staffs and all that. But a lot of that stuff was, it all prepared me. And being on the road and booking some of these artists made me realize a lot of things. And one of the things that was very apparent without name dropping some of these artists was they had some pretty shitty managers. Like a lot of the artists that had managers were very much like, yo, man, that was just your homie that you upgraded to the position. Like they have no qualifications whatsoever.
Yeah.
And as much as I love hip hop and I cherish everything it means to me, like I've always said it when it comes to business, it's one of the most bootleg ran businesses in the world. It literally is the American dream. You can literally go from being a D-boy to CEO overnight.
Right.
But that doesn't mean you're qualified for the position to run a business because this becomes a business. And so I've always like, even as a kid, because I don't drink, I don't smoke, I was never into anything other than like, you think about like, you know, remember back in the day, they used to have VH1 behind the music?
Right.
Dude, I was locked in. I would watch that shit like day in and day out. Like, it didn't matter if it was fucking Aerosmith or TLC. I watched it all because I always wanted to learn. And you start realizing like these success stories, like the one thing that you take from a lot of the success stories in the area of opportunity has always been just observing, watching, and learning. And so I would always observe, watch, and learn, and I would always go, man, like the guys I looked up to, like Chamillionaire, for example, like you could tell that they were more about the information than they were about the look. You know what I'm saying? So I was always trying to get my knowledge up. You know, I tell people all the time the two reasons why people don't make it in this world is lack of initiative and lack of knowledge. But really, the lack of knowledge stems from the lack of initiative.
I was gonna say it's kind of like almost a genius. You know what I'm saying? Not trying to put you, in that status, you know what I'm saying, if, and you feel some kind of way. But it's really a genius, man, to understand your market and how to expand your brand within that market. I think that's a real hard thing for artists to do. You know what I'm saying? To get past that 1 or 2, 3, 4, 5 people that like your music and get into some real numbers. You know what I'm saying? I think you got that niche as well. You know what I'm saying? Of course, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. But it's some things I can learn from you. You know what I'm saying? Just listening to what you're saying. As far, even if you want to transition into something different, you know what I'm saying? Like from artists to booking to management, because as an artist these days we finding ourselves having to book our own shows, having to just set up our own, you know what I'm saying? Set up our own.
Wear multiple hats anyway.
Yeah, we got to wear multiple hats. You know what I'm saying? As an artist these days, unless we have a bunch of Vegas around, you know what I'm saying, which is very limited in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. You know what I'm saying?
I think that a lot of it comes with age too, because there was a lot of things that early on people would tell me. Like, whenever I was doing those all age events, by the time I got to 2009, I had my man Darius, and I always tell Darius this every time I get a chance to talk to him. Darius was like, "Hey man, like, you need to leave Fort Worth. You need to go to Dallas." And I never understood what he meant by that. I'm like, man, motherfucker, what the fuck are you trying to tell me? Like, I was offended because
he was offended. Like, he was telling you to expand.
Yeah, he was telling me to expand. He was basically telling me in a nutshell without telling me, you've done everything you can do in Fort Worth. Take it to Dallas.
Yeah, it's time to move.
And I remember I had that same conversation with Snow the Product. She's like, you really need to get out the city. And I'm like, well, that's really not your place to tell me that, because I'm eating good here. Like, I'm making,
from here?
No, she had been living here for a while. But remember, there was that story I told you I was making $12,000 a night.
Right.
I mean, it wasn't always like that. But like, the fact that I was making that much money, if I go to Dallas, I'm risking cutting that in half or potentially not making that at all.
Yeah.
Why would I leave this? Like, doesn't make sense. But now it took me all the way until we did that Scarface show in 2016, and I was at Trees, and I was one of the first promoters that they took a chance on that wasn't from the area, from Dallas, and Gavin got me in the door, and I was there, and I remember sitting on top of the balcony and seeing the show sold out. And then I went to the floor, and one of my boys put his arm around me, he was drunk. He said, man, I'm fucking proud of you. And like, I remember just almost getting teary-eyed.
Right.
Because I remember going, that's what the fuck Darius meant.
Yeah. You did the Bun B show too, right?
Yeah, I did the Bun B
Yeah,
show.
I did. I opened up with Kobe Savage.
Oh, yeah. That was a packed fucking show too.
Yeah, that was a packed show.
Yeah, I got there late and I couldn't even.
Yeah, I got the picture of me
home.
doing like this with the microphone. The whole crowd just
Yeah.
She's just like, whoa. You know what I'm saying?
But see, by the time we get to that show, because that's already like 2017.
Yeah, that's 2017 right there.
And I remember I had the next week I had a show in San Antonio.
2018.
No, it's
2018.
No, it's,
I gotta look back at the picture then.
It was no, it was 2017 because it was Hurricane Harvey.
Because I paid to get in the show. You ain't fuck with me.
Oh yeah.
No, we had it was a Hurricane Harvey because I had Hurricane Harvey the next week and Bun was coming to town right around the Harvey.
I was going hook crazy, man. I was like, any rapper, y'all need a hook, holla at your boy.
No.
You know what I'm saying? I went, 2017,
no,
I was like, everybody hook.
But by the time we get to that show, I was already in the zone. Like, I was already figuring it out. Like, I think that year, I had already done like Cameron and Joel Santana.
He was going crazy. That's why I was reaching out to
you. Yeah, he was going crazy.
Yeah, it was that was like the beginning of that surge that was about to happen.
Let me ask you this. How many artists done threaten your life because they was trying to open up for a show?
I wouldn't say nobody's threatened my life, but there's definitely been a lot of fallouts as a result of it. And there's maybe been one or two like shit talking instances. But one of the guys that, like, I don't take a lot of shit personal. Like, one of the guys that, like, we had like an altercation. Like, I put him on Zero show.
Like, the one coming up right
yeah,
now?
the one coming up. Yeah,
that's
like,
dope.
Because like we spoke. I mean, it wasn't. I always tell him like I don't take this literal, and I always tell you, Rocky.
I don't think people know that about you. You really don't be tripping like it, but people say some wild shit about you, and you'll let that shit go.
I think I could do the Zero show.
That nigga went straight to that. This nigga's a wild boy.
The wildest.
Hey, you don't win. You can't win if you don't put it out there.
Wild boy. On camera and everything.
Hey,
this
shit,
is
it's
the
going
time
on.
for it, right?
It's going on our show.
Did we just say that nigga just pulled it up?
Yeah.
Eyes closed.
What's it called?
Sometimes you gotta.
Did I push the P? I pushed the P, did
You finna get pushed out that motherfucking door. What the fuck?
Man, it's our show. We ain't getting put out our own show. What you talking about?
You gonna get put out.
But you know what? But I don't take a lot of what people say personal and serious because I know a lot of it's not coming from a place of hate. It's more coming out of a place of frustration and almost anger because like oh man, this guy doesn't fuck with me. Like I've heard that term more than I've ever probably heard any other time. Like, you don't fuck with me. Like, I've ran into people that...
I just think forward we got a mentality. It's like a certain mentality.
It's not just forward. It's like Dallas forward. Like,
yeah.
I shit you not, after the pandemic, well, it's still pandemic, but like, when we started going outside again, and I was running into people that I hadn't seen in a year, people that I had no idea that may have even felt some type of way, and I would run into them, man, you don't fuck with me no more? And I'm like, why would you even think that? Why would you even say that? Like I had a whole lot, like I had a whole call with somebody last week, and they're like, "Yeah, we're gonna get back to fucking with each other the way we used to fuck with each other." I'm like, I never stopped fucking with you. You know what I'm saying? Like the phone is a two-way thing. Like, and maybe they get intimidated by what they think I got going on, or maybe they see that I'm moving in another direction. They're hesitant to make the call, but like I've always made myself fairly available for people. Like if you call and I don't answer, I'll call back at some point. But
so let me ask you this. Why do you think people feel like you rigged your contest?
I think that's an excuse to discredit the people that do good, because if you look at the competition, I've only done, so when we brought back the competition to one,
right.
I used to do this event called Battle of the Bands, and so that's what I called it. I wasn't creative at the time, and so I did 2 Battle of the Bands. The very first one that I ever did, the Band Nerds won it. I don't know if y'all know who the Band Nerds are. They're pretty dope. They're from around here. And then after the Band Nerds, I brought it back in 2017, and Moses the Great won it. That's how I met Moses.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody thought Little Sick was gonna win, and it was in a lot of ways designed in hopes that Little Sick did win, because I was seeing him as an emerging artist, and I wanted to find a way. Like I was always about trying to develop some form of a farming system because the problem with like putting artists on big shows is that they're not ready to hear this, but a lot of them just aren't good enough to be on a big stage.
That's real talk.
They're just not solid performers. They're not polished performers. They're not, and unfortunately, like I have seen people get booed off stage, and it's not a good feeling.
We need more of it.
You know what I'm saying? It's not a good feeling when you see people that aren't developed go on the stage in front of a lot of people and get booed. It sucks.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It sucks bad because I
don't know what it felt like.
I laugh at that.
But that sounds pretty, heartbreaking for an artist,
especially whenever they're younger and they're not fully matured,
Yeah.
and they can handle that. But as far as the competitions, when we brought it back, we did 3 competitions. The first one was in January of 2018, which Rakim won. And we brought one back in the summer, which Flower Child won. And then we did one the following year, which Ravs won. And the 3 competitions that we did, I don't understand why anybody would assume that the one with Rakim was rigged, because the reason why I would say that was the most outrageous one is because Rakim, because I could understand why they would say Ravs and maybe even Flower.
Who you go up against?
Man, who did you go up against?
Nobody knows.
No, for real. Come on.
I think
you
Lil,
can't name one.
No.
One artist you went up against.
They only remember the winner.
No. Okay, I take it back. I did one other battle of bands before that.
I knew you did.
FaZe won that one. The White Boy FaZe won that one. Man, FaZe really Bambino.
Right.
And I didn't. But every time somebody won, I never expected them to win. I didn't know FaZe was gonna come in and win. I didn't know that Moses was gonna come in and win. So it's always cool when you see that. But Rakim had been on my friends list on Facebook for quite some time, and I told him the story the other day. I actually never spoke to him. He had probably been in my inbox like all the other rappers, but I just didn't read it.
Right.
And
you big time.
well, that wasn't that. It was just that we just had it. We had it.
We just keep it real. You know what I'm saying? You big time.
I mean, I just had a lot of people messaging me, but I remember one of the first times that he popped out to me was that he had mentioned that he was having some problems, some heart problems, I believe, and it was like he was paralleling to like his dad when his dad passed. So when I saw that, I liked it, but it just stayed embedded in my brain. And I saw him go on Facebook and make this big ass rant about never participating in any competitions again because because
he was having heart issues too.
Asthma.
It was something like
yeah.
But that stayed in my mind. And so when I saw him post about I'm never doing another competition again, he was referencing the Master of the Mic competition. I don't know what happened. No. I'm not being foul. I'm being real. This is honestly what happened. He was referencing the competition, and I guess he didn't advance. And I don't know what the purpose of him not advancing was, but
everybody know what it was. It's all good.
What was it?
It just was it. I mean, no matter what you can say the specific cause was.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You could say because Snake was supposed to be a judge later on in the competition. But he was like, he wasn't going to be a judge with me in the competition because that's a conflict of interest. And if I win, everybody going to say I won because he was the judge. You know what I'm saying? So he was
well, when I saw that he posted online that he was no longer doing competitions, I knew I was about to put a competition. So I messaged him like, hey, man, I know you don't want to do competitions, but would you consider doing mine? I had no reason to do that.
Right, gotcha.
I just messaged him because I saw someone that was frustrated with the way the scene had been, and maybe he felt that competition wasn't.
And I told you no twice.
I don't even remember him telling me no.
Do you feel like your rhymes that you had at that time compared to now was even suitable to win that competition? Do you feel like that?
Yeah. Rhymes, yeah. That was, I mean,
look, let me tell you.
Rhymes win competition.
I was saying your development. Do you feel like your development is way advanced compared to that time you did that competition?
Right now?
Yeah.
I get better every day.
Of course, you know what I'm saying? But I'm just asking you the specific question. You know
What's
what I'm saying?
question?
The question is, do you feel like that rhyme, if you was to go back and look at that rhyme, do you feel like that rhyme was suitable to win that competition?
It was multiple rhymes, but of course.
Okay. Then.
Well, so let me tell you what happened.
Hold on. Why you ask me that question?
Because I want to know.
It's only 4 years ago, nigga. Was you confident? Was you fully confident in yourself 4 years ago?
I mean, 4 years ago, of course, but my album came out.
No, I'm just asking.
Oh, yeah, I was.
Yeah. I know you fully confident in yourself right now.
I mean, I was, but I can ask you that. Why you get offended? I can ask you that.
I'm not offended. I would just assume
We do this on the show.
Confident in yourself 4 years
Nah, but let me tell you when
hold on. you dig?
Hey, come on, man. This Funky Town, man. You gotta let Funky Town talk, man. You tripping.
I don't care about the stockyard. Hold on, listen. You know what I'm saying? Then I'm gonna keep it all. I'm gonna keep it all.
Nah, bro, but look.
Hold on.
I just want to know why you felt like when you won the competition. Did you feel like it was
the first Hot John
when you lost?
The first Hot John the Conqueror bag that I ever made in my life was not too long before that, and it was in my
No, it ain't what I'm asking.
It was in my left pocket when I walked on the stage. I was sure. What are you talking about?
No, I ain't talking about when you won. I'm talking about when you lost. You was sure that you was gonna win.
Oh, you're talking about the other
when I lost, everybody knew. But the person that was hosting the show.
That's what I'm saying. That rhyme. But you felt like that rhyme was suitable.
Yeah.
Okay, that's it. That's all I asked. It wasn't. You was in your emotions.
So check this out.
Nah, well, I mean, listen. Anytime you get to talk about the quality of rhyming,
oh yeah,
you pulling out a different side of me.
Oh, okay, that's a
you
different.
You tried to put smut on my name.
I ain't put the smut on your name.
I take rhyming too serious.
Hey, no. I didn't put no smut on your name.
I said you tried to. You can't.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, you did.
No, I'm trying to ask you. Do you feel like your rhyme was
in my rhyme?
No, I was asking you if your rhymes was doper. You felt like your rhyme was doper now than it was that time when you lost that competition.
You asked, was that rhyme still valid? Was that rhyme valid for
that's what I'm asking.
Yeah, man.
Because I feel like my work I got now is way greater than the work I did back in the day.
You get better every day.
Yeah.
So when I reached out to him and I saw him frustrated and angry about not doing the competitions, I wasn't reaching out because I thought he was going to win my competition.
Right.
I wasn't reaching out anything other than like I don't want to see another talent locally get burned out from them feeling shortchanged, or maybe I don't think I didn't have any feelings towards the competition.
Right.
Like, it wasn't like I was like, oh yeah, fuck that competition. It was more like, yo, like this guy really feels like he got cheated. Well, here's an opportunity to be part of some fair game shit. Mm-hmm. You've been in my inbox. You want to do my shows. Come and do this one.
Right.
And then I got his number. I called him. That's the first time I ever talked to him. I did 95% of the talking. Well, actually 98%. And I was just like, what do you do? like
factory.
I was like, yo, when you come and do the event, this is what it is. And I go, you don't have to answer.
Right.
Consider.
I mean, you really like kind of like showing us, you know what I'm saying, details of this brother in the cool, you know what I'm saying? Because you really showing that, okay, Rakim is just not nobody out here looking for handouts or basically saying just because my name Rakim put me on. You could tell that he was really being humble and coming to you trying to get on. You know what I'm saying? Like he's really trying to get on.
No, yeah,
you know
he had hit me up, but really I had seen a certain level.
That's a good sign. You know
but I had also seen his name emerging more and more amongst like the hip hop heads were talking about like,
right.
Yo, Rakim's nice. So when I started looking at the credibility of my competition, I felt like, let me extend the invite.
Right.
If he wants to work with me, here's an opportunity.
Right.
And he ultimately took the opportunity. But like to say that I thought he was going to win, I mean, honestly, I have no idea where the idea that the competition was rigged came from, because I thought if you had asked me at that time, because I wasn't present that night, I think I got sick. I thought the kid Corey Milian was going to win because
the singer, right?
Yeah, because we had even almost
he did too.
We had even almost designed the artwork to like where it would be favored for him to be looked at as a potential winner, because he had just done the Kwanzaa Fest at K104
and killed it,
and he murked that motherfucker.
Oh, he cold-blooded,
you know.
too.
So I was like, yo, he's gonna come out and he's gonna win.
Mm-hmm.
He's a vocalist, and we were trying to kind of almost do more of a different style, but we had a different set of judges that we had. You know,
there wasn't too many rappers in there lined up either.
Yeah, and I want to say that Moses may have been there. I don't
Moses was there.
I don't know if Lil Sick was there. FaZe was definitely there. I know that.
Right.
There were some guys that came back, and when I caught wind that he won, because I found out online, I was shook. I was like, yo, he won? Like, that's crazy, because that's the guy that I reached out to and had to convince, like, because he was like, I'm done doing competitions. And then I convinced him to do the competition, and it
Big baby,
and he's like, you know what I'm saying, and it paid off,
right?
It paid off. So then when we do the next competition, he told me, "Yo, Flower Child's gonna win it. If she enters, she's gonna win. I'm telling you now, she's gonna win."
Factory.
And I told him, I was like, "Nah, there's a few people in here that I think that are really dope.
Right?
Got to give them the benefit of that." I was like, "No, she's gonna win." I was like, "All right." And then we had a few people go up. And I think it was after, I don't know if DQ had went up or Mario went up or one of those guys went up. And I was like, yo, you still think she gonna win? He's like, yup.
Guaranteed.
You know what I mean? He's like, yup.
Crazy.
And she went up there and
she sang and rap.
She did everything. She
killed it.
And she killed it. And then when she killed it, it was down between her and DQ. And then the judges select Flower. And I think that's where I could kind of see where people would assume that like I had some tampering with that if they would ever assume that because he was advocating for her and he had just won and we were starting to build our relationship. But really beyond that, like I didn't know Flower prior to that. You know
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it was like, why would people think that? She did great. She killed it. She's a great performer.
Right.
So you would basically...
It's the easy thing to say. I understand it in every scenario.
Yeah, like you saying that it's... You saying that it's rigged, it's to me discrediting her talent.
It's going to be some haters out there.
And then, so anyways, we get to the last one, and I don't know about the last one or why anybody would assume the last one, but the only reason I can sit, and this is what's funny about the last competition I did, which part of the reason why I didn't do it, the girl that won the competition was a last minute addition. She was like I think somebody had fell out, and then I got a call like, hey, can you input this girl in the competition? And I was like, yeah, sure, I'll put her on. Like,
right.
She's just a filler. I didn't think anything of it. I had no idea that she was actually an employee at the Bond Factory. She was at the box office. Damn. So I could see why they would assume that was a correlation between us rigging. But again, I had no hopes whatsoever that she was going to win. Matter of fact, I was outside because I was like, oh, she's not going to win. And then when all the judges came back, they're like, all right, we got our winner. Who's the winner? Like, grab. She killed everybody.
Right.
I was like, what? I'm like, what? She?
Right.
Yeah, I was like, I was surprised. But now I have a relationship with her.
Right.
And I'm sure that people will probably be like, oh, whatever. But like, there was never no ring. And I don't know why they say that, bro.
Do you think it like between Forward and Dallas, that Forward has more opportunity for artists as far as getting work, getting help from nonprofit organizations and things of that sort?
No, I think that Fort Worth has made strides over the last few years with what Visit Fort Worth has done with now creating the Here Fort Worth and Film Fort Worth, where they're supporting creatives and like they did a lot of things for the artists during the pandemic where they were giving people grants. Every artist that signed up during that time frame got $300 off top.
Right.
They have some really great grants right now where if you reside in Fort Worth or you're from Fort Worth and you're a touring artist and you apply for the grant, they'll give you up to $500 per date. They'll just give it to you. They'll just make sure because they want you to go out there and they want you to
do your
Fort
thing.
Worth.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So you're talking about, they got a lot of support. You get a lot of support. During my festival, they were able to, give us some funding, and I know they continue to do that. That's a certain level of support that I don't see Dallas has, and I don't see a lot of other communities have.
For the move forward.
Yeah, I wanted to thank you too for introducing me to the people you introduced me to. Yeah, because I've been having some real good dialogue, and what I'm saying,
because you went to the Benny show and Tom was there, and I told you, man, you need to meet Tom.
Right.
Tom's, you hear a lot of stories of people that are quote unquote for the scene, and oh man, that guy, he's for the people, but like this guy really is for the people. And
he was a great guy when I met him.
You know what I'm saying? Like what he's done for Lou Charles's career in specific has been amazing. Like they've put him on big actual commercials, full campaigns that are in their airports, and that whenever they have like the big events, like they've put him in front of 20,000 people. Like they did some really big stuff. And Lou, credit to him, he was the first hip hop artist to take it upon himself to be like, like he saw that they were having mixers. He just showed up and he noticed that there was nobody that was representing hip hop or anything urban or anything, of ethnicity.
Now, what's the kid name that raps about beer? What's his name?
Beer.
Yeah, they like putting a lot of bread behind him.
I can't think.
Man, what's his name? I met him at the mixer.
I don't know. I haven't gone to the mixer, but but the thing is, like, they do these mixers once a month, and they're steady, introducing people to people, and it's really dope. Because even with the Film Forward, like I found out that they'll give you up to like a 6-figure grant to film a movie if you're a director, as long as you employ a minimum of 60 people that live and reside in Fort Worth. Right. And I mean, you're talking about that's a fucking game changer.
That's a game changer. Yeah.
And I don't know that a lot of the artists locally know that the resources are even available to them.
Yeah, I didn't know. So I'm saying, I was quite surprised when you introduced me to the guy, and then I was able to really talk with him and articulate what it was they had going on. Right. And it blew my mind, you know what I'm saying? Because that those opportunities, I don't want to say it's just not it's not visible in the hood as far
I'll say this, during the time that they've been around, and since I've been able to work with them
Mm-hmm.
just off of grants and like stuff that they've been able to make happen for me. It's probably upwards of 20 grand.
Right.
And you know, and the thing is, it's like during the pandemic, the first $300 wave came, and I don't know if they gave me a second $300, but I know that we were entered into small business. They did like a small business grant, and I was able to get $7,500 from them. You know,
Right.
This is during the time where we're not making money. You know what I'm saying? We're not
Right.
making money at all. So that was able to help tremendously with a lot of things. And
Mm-hmm.
anytime I call, anytime I need help, they're available. They're like a support system. I don't like using them or abusing them, so I won't call them all the time. But like I had a meeting with Dickies Arena recently because I was talking about doing my festival, and I was really, I had some big names attached to it, so they connected they facilitated the meeting between me and Dickies, and like, whatever you need us to do, just let us know. And it was like, man,
That's a big thing for you.
and they've already
Yeah.
told me, they're like, hey, the mayor has pretty penny set aside for second year festival, so just let us know. And it's like, man, you don't even know that these things are possible. But this is why being on the other side of the business is very important, because artists only think about the creation of music. They
Yeah.
don't think about the other side of it. So
Now, that's why you got to have somebody like you, someone that's going to manage, that has.
because as soon as I saw him
yeah.
there, I whispered in his ear, I was like, you gotta meet this guy. He's really important. Trust me. Hey, what's going on?
Yeah, he called me back. He hit me back on Instagram. Say him and his wife listened to it. You know what I'm saying? It's, whatever. You know what I'm saying? Listen to the album. He thought it was phenomenal. And then he asked me to come out to the mixer. Went out to the mixer. He introduced me to some more people.
And they need more people.
You know what I'm saying?
They need more people of color, because like the people that they have right now, they're very limited in like a
Right.
lot of like people within our culture, like even on the Hispanic side, like
Right.
they don't really understand what it is, so they can't comprehend it. But it's like when you start, like we had like they did like a real big Fort Worth thing. Like I don't know, it was huge.
Right.
It's like the mayor. There was like 1,000 people there, and they incorporate us in situations that you would least expect them to incorporate us in.
Right.
And it's really dope, and so it's really dope. But yeah, I would say in that sense, yeah, Fort Worth is completely different than Dallas in that sense. But the thing about like Dallas, when you think about House of Blues, you think about Trees, you think about the Factory, you think about these venues that are staples to like not just Dallas, but really the whole entire region, and really the entire U.S. Like like you can't overlook that. Like to me, like 2009, 2010, I always go back to that. Like somebody told me, like, what Fort Worth is to Dallas is what Jersey is to New York, with the city across the bridge.
Yeah, they always say that.
And I understand that now more so than ever. And it's like, they always say you're not nobody till you make your name in New York, right? It's the same thing. Like locally and regionally, you're not really a commodity until you make your name in Dallas, until the people in Dallas start realizing like, yo, this is somebody. And I feel like when I started doing a lot more events in Dallas than in Fort Worth, I feel like the publication specifically it kind of became you're too Dallas for Fort Worth and you're too
Right.
Fort Worth for Dallas. Like I really had.
Yeah, that's what I was saying earlier. You two guys, as far as like staying in the public eye here, and y'all masters at it. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's why I went wrong. I was so busy trying to be international. You know what I'm saying? That the people from my own city couldn't see me. You understand what I'm saying? They're like, oh, dang, you doing that? How come we don't know about it? You know what I'm saying? Well, they're not going to know about it because it's so far out there. You know what I'm saying? People only really associate themselves with what's in their own inner city, in a sense.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, we don't know who the hottest coming up in New York right now. You know what I'm saying? Who? You know what I'm saying? We don't know their names. You know what I'm saying? And vice versa in the West Coast, you know what I'm saying? And Midwest, et cetera, et cetera. You know what I'm saying? So,
Well, I think the biggest thing to be said in all of this, and just like anything else, like, within music, like, there's never really been a whole lot of, like, mentors, right? And a lot of people that have been through the trenches that, because I think in order for people to truly respect one's opinion, it has to be coming from somebody that they've seen, like, he's actually went through the grind.
yeah.
Or for sure he's not fronting or perpetrating. Like, when you know that it's authentic and it's real, then it's different, because a lot of times when we look at it, like, you gotta be real with yourself. Like, the majority of the artists, the majority of the business people, or the majority of the people in general that are in the music scene locally or in general, are self-taught.
Right.
And when you're self-taught, like it could take a long time. You know, it could take a long time. Like I'm realizing now, 2022, what I'm capable of. 2021, 2020, when I was already doing this in 2007, 2008.
Right.
I just didn't know how to piece it together. I didn't understand the psychology aspect.
Yeah.
of
You
it.
know
And
how to write. You know how to write keys.
when you start realizing the psychology aspect, and like we're teaching ourselves how to navigate. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah,
like,
real talk.
and we're gonna make mistakes and we're gonna take the wrong turns because we don't have a roadmap. And we've never had a roadmap for the most part. There's not, like I said, there's not a single A,
It's
double
all
A.
freestyle.
Yeah, it's not single. There's no single A, double A, triple A, major league system. It's like plug and play. We go in and we do it, and then if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And when it doesn't work, that could set us back a year. When if we knew what we were doing or we really knew how to navigate, it wouldn't set us back as long. You know what I mean?
Right.
So those are things that have to happen in order for you to grow. But of course, as years progress, I would like to see more executives be produced, more A&Rs, more managers, more promoters. I think if we focus,
That's what we need. We got too many orders.
yeah, I feel like
We're
if
missing
we,
the business.
Right.
like if we focus on those things and we see more people come along and become mentors and people that really can help us navigate, I think you're going to see more of a growth because the talent is there, no doubt about it. And I remember I talked to Goyeyo. This is a true story. When I talked to Goyeyo, he had stopped by my store, and then I had a conversation with him. I think one at the time, and this was around 2016. I remember telling him 2015, 2016. I told him, what's impressive about you? He doesn't even realize that he does not understand what I was telling him. I said, everything you've done up to this point has been blindfolded. You have no idea what you're doing, and it's just happening.
It's popping off.
If it just had some structure and some management there, he would have been even further.
But I ended up meeting his manager at the last mixer. I met his manager.
Oh, the guy that launched him. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
You're talking about Supreme. Yeah, that was the guy that
I've
launched
been
him.
Supreme.
But Supreme lost him after I think once he started going, like everybody thinks they can do it on their own. But nonetheless, that's another story, right? Like I'm just saying, like that those are the things that I noticed. Like now, like those are part of the areas of opportunities for us to grow and get better because we just don't have enough people that can show us. Like I remember at one point, you remember Kuhn Delani, like rest in peace, Kuhn. Like he was someone that was out here that was putting on local showcases before anybody else was, or for the most part, one of the first to put them on. And he was putting on a lot of artists on and gave a lot of artists like their first crack at a stage. Kobe knows him, I know for sure. Kobe worked through that circuit. We just don't have that, and I think that's when I started realizing more so like the promoters that exist now are the people that are doing events that are more valuable than we realize because there's a lot of people that just don't know.
What you got coming up next?
I mean, obviously I have the West Side Boogie tour that I'm putting together. You know what I'm saying? We're doing 7 dates. We're doing 3 dates in Texas. We're doing 3 dates in California, and then we got a Denver, Colorado date. Probably could have went more dates, but I didn't want to overcommit because I wanted his album to come out. You know what I'm saying? And then we're set to do the Dave East States, TBD. We'll see how that goes, right? And then I got Zero coming out on my birthday. And
What's up?
What day is it?
That's March 12th. And I try to always do like a mix between Dallas and Fort Worth dates, because I don't want to keep too much of the business on one side. But I think more so this year, like I want to continue just to expand and do more shows. And there's obviously the festival. Like I do want to get back to doing the festival, I feel for me, like I based it more Latin based last year to kind of give back to the people. But I think this year I kind of want to just get back to the music and do what I love. And hopefully I've had conversations with, like some big artists to incorporate and include, and we'll see what happens with that. I mean, I have every intent to do that. And then obviously the artist management side, like, I want to continue to build the roster and continue to act also as an agent, because what I've done over the last year and a half is what people don't realize is all the hats I actually wear. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm doing the social media stuff. I'm doing the artist management stuff. I'm also doing booking management. I represent a lot of talent. I work directly with, Paul Wall's a really good friend, a client of mine that I work with, that I do a lot of bookings for as Cap G. And I'm starting to get a lot of more of the regional guys that are asking me to handle their tours. Obviously, West Side Boogie taking a chance on me, and giving me the opportunity to book his dates is only going to open up the doors for other artists. And that's a whole nother business. That's a whole nother business, and there's money in that as well. But I think that, and then obviously I had the podcast, I do the show, and
Right, right.
one thing that Rakim was telling me is that he feels like I don't always get all the credit that I deserve when, like, he sees me feeding other podcasts and other platforms and giving these other platforms interviews, and nobody will be like, shout out to Smooth Vega.
Yeah.
And I don't necessarily do it for that, because I think when I used to get bothered whenever people would take credit for my company.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, this year's going to be different. I'm going to make sure that I focus more on personal branding and not make it so much about, Premier Live. I'm going to make it more about Smooth Vega again. Everybody that knows it's me, but, I gave room and area of opportunity for people to take credit for my work.
Right.
And people will always do that if they can. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, if you let them.
And I can't be mad at that. You know what I'm saying? I can't be mad at that, but at the same time, like, I don't want that to cost me or potentially, cost me a bigger opportunity. So
Right.
I want to focus on making it more about me and what I'm doing.
Yeah, ain't no wrong with that, bro.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, your brand, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, because the way I looked at it is when people would try to take credit for my company in the past,
Mm-hmm.
I would always shrug it off like, oh, it doesn't matter, because I know who's filing taxes and I know who it goes to.
Right.
I know who this all goes back to me, but it's not about ego. It's about getting your just due and people realizing, like, if this man needs a service, he's calling you because he thinks it's you.
Right.
But you're really not even the plug. I'm the plug. You're reaching out to me. You have to come to me. Like, it doesn't make any sense.
Middleman, man. That's what we do in the streets, man. You can't knock the hustle.
Yeah, but I mean, I think that those are a few things that are coming up.
So we appreciate you coming through those.
Yeah, already, bro.
This basically, goddamn me.
I told you I talk a lot.
If I'm high on my mind. This one right on there.
Yeah.
Where we at? I'm glad you said it, because we're going to keep it all the way true. Listen, I know I'm high on a bitch, but I swear you ask this nigga one question and he got to talk for 5 minutes. The nigga talk too goddamn good. He one of them salesmen. You got to watch them fast, long talking niggas. They tell you too much. You feel me? But rule number one, you know what I'm saying? If you know your show ain't up to par, don't be complaining about a nigga not putting you on the motherfucking stage.
Already.
Relationships are everything. If you ain't built no genuine relationship with that person, they have no benefit in helping you out. The nigga tell you no, be persistent. Keep doing your work.
Oh, shit.
Me, a lot of the people you see me have relationships with, I fought for them relationships for years. There wasn't no yes on the first term. You feel me? Get your shit together. The really thing you need to do is go to every open mic in the city. Because experience is the best teacher.
Yeah.
There's going to be people in there every night that's really there just to drink. They got to go to work tomorrow, but they had to come to this bar to drink. They expecting everything to be trashed, and the hardest people to impress. I'm trying to close the show, man. They still talking fuck both of them. It's a Nubian podcast. It's all over.
Shit. That nigga high in the bitch.
I'm talking.